What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. It's time to keep talking about Mark Carney and the tariffs because that's Canada's biggest problem right now. Now, we're not going to get a deal. We're not going to get any kind of a deal, even if some kind of agreement is reached. Why not? Well, I'll explain it again. For anybody who isn't aware, I spent almost 20 years in the business sector, went to business school. In fact, I wrote my thesis in business school on the art of the deal. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, and I know that triggers a lot of people. It triggers a lot of people that I like the Donald, okay? But I think he's wonderful. I think he's a great president. Trump's a little rusty from the long weekend. We're not going to get any deals because what's happened essentially when you look at negotiations, when you look at how business deals are discussed, don't forget you're working with a businessman here in terms of the presidency of the United States. You're not working with a politician. Justin Trudeau went down to the United States at Mar-a-Lago just before the federal election. Trump clearly asking, if we were to stop giving you guys subsidies, if we were to stop with the automotive, everything else, what would that do to Canada? And Trudeau says, oh, I don't know. Well, we'd be bankrupt. We'd go belly up. So he immediately showed his cards at the table. Instead of playing a poker face saying, well, we've got other trading partners or we could figure some things out. Why do you ask? Justin Trudeau has no idea how to play the business game. Mark Carney enters the room and says, well, I'm king negotiator. I can do all those things. Clearly not. In fact, Mark Carney's strategy has been the exact same as Justin Trudeau's. Show your cards at the table, show how weak you are, and nothing will come forward. Now, stay with me, folks, because this is going to lean into how we know we're getting the same deal as Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney continues to negotiate tariffs, if you can call it that, where Donald Trump has imposed tariffs. He says that unless a certain deal is reached, tariffs are coming. Mark Carney waits till the 11th hour, and then maybe the tariffs have stuck around for about 12 hours, and then a deal is reached, and then Trump puts another deadline on, so on, so on, and so on, and we wash, rinse, repeat. Well, what's happened now? Good old Mark Nixon, by the way, great channel. Tweeting out, Mark Carney called Trump multiple times on July 31st. Again, waiting till the 11th hour. Trump isn't taking his calls. In fact, I've shown in other videos where Trump says, look, he tried calling. We didn't pick up the phone. We don't want to talk to Mark Carney, okay? He's a loser. We're not doing any deals with Mark Carney. We're going to talk about United States. He's avoiding his calls. In fact, Dominic LeBlanc was sent packing. The delegates were told, go home. We're not doing a deal. We're not talking about nothing. And a lot of it centers around Mark Carney's new ambition to recognize Palestine as an independent state. We covered that in another video. Mark goes on to say here, he sat in Ottawa waiting by the phone like a 9/11 dispatcher. Trump never picked up, never called back. So much for crisis leadership. Crisis man only shows up after the fire to blame the match. I mean, I love the meme here. Please pick up. I promise no more elbows. It's... This is the state of our country, and I know I shouldn't be laughing, but this is where I've said Donald Trump should impose massive tariffs on Canada. Way more tariffs than he already has. A lot more. Maybe Mark Carney will go get a lollipop. Maybe he'll feel better. Who knows? Jeff Rath knows what's going on. Let's take a look at Jeff Rath. Carney doesn't have a clue as to how to deal with President Trump. Again, he showed his cards at the table. He showed how weak we are. That anytime Trump has wanted anything, Mark Carney says, no problem, we'll give it to you. No problem. And then Trump holds off a little bit further, and then he comes back to the table, and Trump says, okay, now I want this. And Mark Carney says, absolutely not. And then a tariff deadline comes in, and Mark Carney goes, okay, you can have it. Now, I've discussed in a previous video how Mark Carney essentially has all of his stocks in the United States, and it's not saying that I've covered what those stocks are, or the fact that he's moved Brookfield to the United States. Moose on the Loose has done a fantastic job of showing the very large entanglement of Mark Carney's assets. However, what I showed in my video is that as soon as Trump mentioned the tariffs, Brookfield's stock jumped 6 points. Westinghouse's stock has jumped since June. This is all to boost his blind trust. Mark Carney wants the tariffs. And no matter how much he tells Canadians, look, I'm going to negotiate, we're going to figure it out, there is no deal. There's nothing that's going to benefit Canada. Jeff says Carney's being made fool of every day. Now, of course, he retweets Mark Nixon again. Mark Carney says he will only accept a best deal for Canada. So what does a best deal look like if we get anything more than zero tariffs? Take a look at what Mark Carney has to say here.
We will have a discussion on the current state of negotiations with the United States. I will say that, as you are aware, our senior ministers, my chief of staff, myself, were engaged in continuous discussions. Minister LeBlanc will be reinforcing those discussions over the next few days in Washington with the United States. We are looking for the best deal for Canada. We're only going to accept the best deal for Canada. That is very much informed by our discussions. We understand as well that we all understand that the global trade environment is changing, and there are some countries that are pulling back, that are restricting market access, but there's even more countries that are opening up to market access, and the premiers have helped lead this with individual trade initiatives to Asia, to...
So I'm not even going to let him finish because it's useless. This is all just word salad. It's jargon. Donald Trump would enter the room here and go, "How's that working out for you, Mark? How's it working out? You and your baloney garbage, your tariffs, your talk." Mark Carney sits down and says, "We're only going to take the best deal." What deals have we seen so far that are the best deals? Like, nobody should believe a word that comes out of his mouth. And I still, for the life of me, can't understand that when you poll people in liberal ridings in Quebec and Ontario and the Maritimes, they all say, "Oh, he's doing a fantastic job. He's doing such a great job. Good old Mark Carney. We're so glad we installed him to be prime minister." What a garbage country we live in. What a joke. Speaking of jokes, while the largest trade deal in the world fell apart, Mark Carney wasn't worried about Donald Trump anymore. I mean, Donald won't take his calls. Donald says, "Get out of here, go away, you're fired." Mark Carney jet sets across the country, by the way, while his ministers had mentioned that if you go flying anywhere over the summer or go in your 10 hours car trips, do you guys remember Mark Holland saying that? You're going to burn, you're going to watch the world burn. Well, Mark Carney jet sets across the country to go to a pride parade in Vancouver and hug a naked man. Now, I got to admit, I thought this was AI. I thought it was photoshopped. Anything. I did not believe when I seen this going around on social media that this was real. It says here on this tweet, "Are these his Secret Service? They don't look happy. The one on the left looks like he's going to get hurt. Or he's going to hurl. Sorry. This guy here. A little queasy. Now, luckily, this photo blanks out the fact that this guy has his whole rear end exposed. His cheeks are out. He's wearing a pink thong. So I'm not going to show you guys the actual photo, but this photo has circulated around the world. It's not just on Twitter. It's not just on social media platforms. It's being shared around the world. Canada seen as a complete joke. So while we should be talking trade deals, we should be figuring out how to actually launch projects to help our international trade, Mark Carney's out hugging naked men. Remind you of anybody? Does it remind you of anyone? Of course, you've got Viva Fry down here. Again, I'm going to be careful how I scroll because we don't want to show this guy's bare ass on camera. It's just disgusting. Routers reported this first, by the way. It's being shared everywhere. God, I'm having to see the guy's naked ass on my screen. It's disgusting. Viva Fry saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister of Canada. Mark Carney, people are suggesting this photo is fake. I found a second angle, which seems to confirm the authenticity. Could you please confirm that this is a fake photograph and not a real photograph of you hugging a half-naked man?" Now you can see Mark Carney over here in the picture. You can see the guy just like up above. And here you can see the guy who looks like he's going to hurl again. This guy looking to the side. So you can see from the two angles, it's accurate. It's accurate. There's Buddy looking to hurl again. The fact of the matter here, folks, is Canada's a joke. This country is a joke. It hasn't been taken serious in a very long time. In fact, as I left my teens into my young adulthood, you know, people used to walk around Europe backpacking, Canadian flags stitched to their backpacks. Americans, I were told, used to stitch Canadian flags to their backpacks so that they were treated better. Now, that could be an urban myth. I don't know if it's real, but that's what I used to hear in my early 20s, that, hey, some Americans don't want to get any flack for being American, so they actually stitch Canadian flags to their backpacks when they go backpacking over Europe so that people are nicer to them. I don't know, again, if that's real. But if so, what do you think the reception is now when they walk around with Canadian flags on their backpacks? Do you think that they get the respect they feel they deserve? Do you think that people say, oh, what a great country Canada is? Or do you think the first thing that people think about is Justin Trudeau, massive lockdowns, failing to bring up trade deals, disparaging their citizens, stealing tax dollars, padding their pockets, their investments, etc., hugging naked men, being a joke on the world stage? If Canada was a stock, it would literally be a penny stock at this point. It would be worth nothing. Many people would be throwing it out. I'd still be in to say at some point, I hope it turns around. I don't know if it's too late. Again, we've seen what Mark Carney is doing. It's very clear what Mark Carney is doing. He's welcomed the tariffs. He has no desire to make a deal that's poignant for Canada, that works for Canada. Aside from making a deal that just benefits the United States. And rightfully so. If Mark Carney's going to give that up, then the United States is due to take that. You know, Donald keeps saying, look, I'll take away the tariffs. They'll come away as long as you become the 51st state, okay? I think go for it, by all means. If anything, Alberta and Saskatchewan are prepared to possibly become a 51st state. I still think full-blown independence is better. And just have a good working relationship with the United States. But let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Mark Carney's a joke? Can you believe he was out hugging naked dudes in pink thongs? Let me know what you have to say down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video's earned your subscription. Make sure as you hit that button, you leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. YouTube is censoring our videos like crazy lately. You guys have been doing a fantastic job trying to fight that. Anytime you leave a thumbs up, a comment, hit the subscribe button, turn on your bell for notifications. It tells YouTube, hey, this stuff's good, it's interesting, more people should see it. Any help you guys can give is muchly appreciated if you enjoyed the content. Speaking of that bell, turn it on for all notifications so that you never miss a beat whenever videos drop on the channel. Make sure to join me live here on the channel now twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, for Unhinged Fringe on Wednesdays, Friday Night Fringe on Fridays, where I'm joined by multiple co-hosts. I'm also joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe on Fridays, as we sit and talk about everything that's happened this week in politics, some things that don't make the cutting room floors. We have memes, we have jokes, and we do Q&A and chit-chat with the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I love speaking with you guys each and every week. I now look forward to both of those days to sit down and hear what you have to say outside of making these videos, and I look forward to seeing you this week at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, Wednesday and Friday here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, get a lollipop. I'll catch you on the next one.